Well, what's going on, world? It's Coach Ford here. It's Justin. Well, for this show, it's Justin. It's to come up with Justin and Lemi. And we shouldn't need an introduction, but there's many of you that probably don't know who we are yet. So go and introduce yourself.
I am just Mr. Make It Happen. It's still one of your monikers. The world needs us. That's all I gotta say. You'll come to find out who we are the more we do these shows.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. I haven't dropped the first episode yet, and then as soon as I get ready to drop it, we have a whole shift in the world and technology and culture and just a variety of things that's transpired. And as I was preparing for tonight's show, most people don't know we usually have a preliminary podcast talk every week that goes for 2 hours, and you're like, oh shoot, we should have recorded this session. But the world needs us. The world is changing. Before we go deep dive into the episode, let's go back and touch on which will be episode 1, which will be so vital to this episode, because that first episode, I think we were setting them up for the rest of the series. But that being said, in the world of AI, it's going to make the last episode much better. Tell us about that, man. Tell us about the changes in AI, everything. I mean, we talk so much about it. I want some others to have their brains scratching for a minute. You know, what do you think about the world of technology and AI, and then the movies? We talked about The Matrix. We talked about The Terminator. We talked about Hunger Games. We talked about, what was the other one? Shoot. Terminator, Hunger Games, Matrix. One I just dropped, I sent you tonight, iRobot.
Yeah, you sent iRobot, and I'm trying to think of what the other one was.
I don't know. But there's a lot to unpack with
The
them.
Enders.
The Ender's Game. Yeah, that one was crazy. Like, and not necessarily the movie itself, but the way they interface with technology. I mean, you talked about this, was like Harrison Ford's character was like, how did those images get into the game? She's like, I don't know. I didn't put them in there. And
Right.
so the ability for that human cognitive function with that interference with the spiritual world and the natural world and the technology, and there's just a lot to unpack in that. So get us started, man. You got a feast tonight. We're gonna throw it up there to you. We're gonna let you feast tonight, man. Get us started on you. We'll stave the Kendrick. We're gonna hit on the Kendrick, but let's start him with that, and then get him into the Kendrick Lamar and culture and all that fun stuff.
No, you want to talk about leaps and bounds. What AI has done in the last, just in the last 2 days. So we talked 2 days ago about, what's happening in the AI world. Oh, it's taken a huge jump in the last 2 days that we haven't even touched bases on. And like, I try to stay on top of it and keep up with it. So just to backtrack where we were, AI is probably 50% of our lives unaware, right?
Yeah.
So I'm watching the Super Bowl, and for what people watch the Super Bowl for, you watch for the commercials, or you watch for the entertainment at halftime, or you watch for the game. The one thing I was watching for specifically was what commercials are going to use AI versus CGI.
Right.
Because CGI is expensive. And I would say at least minimum 50%, at the lowest rate, 50% of the commercials use AI. Like, I can tell the difference just from my experience. I can tell the difference between AI and CGI. And 50% of those commercials were AI. Two of the most effective commercials were AI. And if you think about budgets and costs and et cetera, that, your $7 million Super Bowl ad for 30 seconds, you probably, pre-AI, you probably were allocating $6 million. Now you got a $7 million spot in which it costs you $300,000 to shoot the video. And now what you get versus what you put in, the numbers don't lie. So let's say I do a Super Bowl commercial, it costs me $350,000 because I'm using AI. AI generated everything. And all I had to do was pay for Ryan Reynolds or or whomever, Bradley Cooper, whoever I pay for. That was their appearance fee and their for the 30-second spot. So that's what I paid for, right? Now the I can take it and do whatever I want. And so the cost of having someone, we gotta go from this place to this place to this place, et cetera, et cetera. All that's those costs are gone. You don't you shoot a 45-second, 1 minute, 30 second, whatever, however long it is. You shoot it. The actor never has to leave one spot, and that's how you land the actor or actress for the first time in history. 30 seconds. All you got to do is just stand in front of film and read these lines, and then everything in the background AI takes care of. So what normally would cost you 10, 15, 20, 30 million to produce a 30-second spot, no, it only costs you 500, 600,000, and then you pay the rest to get the spot for the Super Bowl. But now what happens is you get recouped infinitely 10, 20, 30, 40 million through exposure. Before you were only going to get maybe 20, 30% back on your recoup your money, but the exposure is what you were looking for. So now people clip these videos of Bradley Cooper, Ryan Reynolds, whoever's in these Super Bowl commercials, they clip them, and now they become TikTok videos or reels or shorts or etc. So now this one thing that played in front of 100 million people, you clip it, that 30-second spot, you clip it in 12 seconds, 15 seconds. So let's say 15 seconds, you get 2 times 15-second clips, and each clip gets 100 million views plus what you've seen on a Super Bowl. So now you've already got 3x, 5x on 7 million. Now, if maybe 2% buys your product, you're in the green, like big time, or what somebody was saying, the black. And all you had to do is use AI to do it.
Yeah, and that's interesting to me about that. Now, for the people at home that doesn't know CGI, do you want to touch base on what CGI is? You want me to hit on?
Yeah, I mean, CGI is just computer generated imaging. Everything that we've always come to watch, love on big film sets is computer generated imaging. Usually the story is well written. It's good enough. It has its core audience to where you kind of become oblivious to the CGI. A person like me, when I watch a movie or a film, I'm looking for every aspect. So CGI doesn't, I'm not blinded by CGI, computer generated imaging. I'm not blinded by that. Like I actually look for all CGI images just so I can see, like, how are they implementing this? How long is this implemented? What are they saving? Like, these are things that I look at it from that standpoint. But everything that we watch, even TV shows, it all has CGI, and it just makes for a more fluent production because that's the one thing. Like, if we got to go shoot a scene at the beach and then we got to shoot a scene at the mountains, we got to go shoot a scene here or there, the production cost it becomes overwhelming. So you have to look at entertainment value versus production costs. And just like everything that's happening right now, you want to create a website. Well, we got to look at what goes into the website and all the things, coding, etc., whatever, layout, design, servers we're going to host it on. And this is all like stuff that is just boring, but these are like the nuts and bolts of production. So when AI comes into play, that takes a lot of things off the table. We don't have to think about these things. I can go into any AI software and I can knock out a website just like that. I mean, and you would never know because people, your typical user, they're not looking at, things that are not right on the website. When you go to a website, generally you go there with the intentions of doing something. And no matter what that something is, as long as that we can get to what we set out to get to and hit click buy and then shut the computer, that's all that matters. We don't care who built the website. We don't care what codes you use. We don't care as a consumer. When I go to a restaurant and I want to order this thing off the menu, I don't want to know where you sourced your green onions from, if you're using basmati rice or long grain rice. I don't want to know if it is wheat flour, this flour. I just want the composed dish. This is all I signed up for. And if it tastes like what I want it to taste like, I don't want to know if your chef is, James Beer. I mean, this is the regular person. Me, I care about those things, but
Right.
your typical consumer, they don't. James Beard Award winner, I don't know, Michelin chef, they don't care. They don't even know what that is. Most consumers. So you don't want to overwhelm the consumers with the intricacies of how they got their dish or how you got to this point in the website. No, I don't care if you use AI to create a website. If I can click buy, ship, and it comes to me, that's all. I don't care if it was monkeys who created this thing. I just don't care. You say 2 day shipping. This is why everybody loves Amazon. Amazon give you 2 day shipping or next day or Prime, whatever have you. I don't care how it happens. I don't care you have a warehouse 1 mile away from me. I don't care if you have 100,000 drivers in the US working 18 hours a day. I don't care about none of the logistics of it. I just want to be able to click, 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 buy. So now on the other side, as a business, if that's what you want, then we don't need to spend an exorbitant amount of money for the bells and whistles when we already know what the user's intent is and what the user's desired outcome or goal. So let's cut the costs and use AI, make it more fluid and consistent across the board without us having to spend X amount of dollars. We don't have to create a budget for this. We pay a guy $30 an hour. He codes some things for us, and then here we are 2 hours later. Great user interface. We get feedback. User didn't like it, so then we improve on that interface. But we're not hiring a whole company to come in and do that for us. We're just going to take the AI and we'll say, hey, based off user response, blah, 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 this is a pain point for them on the website. What would you do to fix that? And then AI will tell you, and then you just have this back and forth with whatever AI you're using. And then now you have that product that you want, as opposed to hiring 8 individuals, another to come in and fix that. No, you don't have to do that. Like you hire one guy and this guy just has a conversation with the computer. And next thing you know, there's no pain points. I can click in 3 clicks. I can have something coming to me in 2 days. And that's all I care about. I don't care about its user experience.
So on that, when you're talking about user experience for the person at home, that's like their surface level with AI, and then for the person that is not prepared for this transition at all, because like you said, they don't care. Do you think that's a mistake on their part, not caring at all about this transition, or?
It's not a mistake on their part because that's how the world works. There's a lot of things that go on behind the scene all the time for the beginning of time that these are things I'm not concerned with. I don't want to know how a combustion engine works.
Right.
I just want to know when I turn the
Right.
key, it goes like, I
Yeah.
put it in dry. I don't want to know the details of these things. But at the same time, your lack of awareness that there is someone that does know the details of these things. Without that person or that thing, you don't get that. Everything that we do as consumers, it is there's a term for it in psychology, and it'll come to me. Like if I turn the key, I expect the car to start. Like that's my reward. And we don't want to know the details of it, but we do have to have an awareness of that there's something that goes on to make this happen. So when I go and I order a meal at a restaurant, there's not this meal doesn't just drop out of this machine. Like there's things that go on. A lot of times we get disconnected with the process, but at the same time, in our job, we're a part of a process for something that happens. Whether you're a teacher, whether you're a mechanic, whether you're an administrator, me as a parent, you're a teacher and a coach and an athletic director. I don't want to know the ins and outs of your job that affects me.
Right.
But at the same time, I cannot be ignorant of that there is someone like Wizard of Oz behind the curtain pulling the levers. So there is almost a happy medium, but what happens now, it's always been physical. With AI, that takes all that off the board. So now you really now get to be you really don't have to think about these things at all now. Like I don't order food at a restaurant or anything. Everything I do is through an app. I do self checkout. I don't like the interactions with humans when it comes to purchasing things. And the
Right.
reason why I don't like that is because I can spot the margin of errors. I can spot where the error is going to happen. And I'm almost exact every time. Like if it can go wrong, it will go wrong. When I say I order a burger, I don't want onions, no salt on my fries. I want the brioche bun, not the sesame seed bun. I know with every deviation of the norm, I know where the mistake is going to happen. When it comes to automation and AI, I can't spot those things because it won't happen enough. There won't be enough errors for me to be able to spot it. You're talking about I order the same thing through an app, maybe 1 in 100 times it'll be wrong. So that means I have to order this thing 100 times for it to be wrong once. There's no way for me to spot where it went wrong. But if I do that 100 times with a human, it's probably about 60% error. And I can spot every time when something is going to go wrong before it goes wrong, because that was like, so say that again. You don't want salt on your burger or your fry or what? So I already know, like I can expect that. So when that happens, me as a consumer, guess what I'm gonna do? I'm not gonna put myself in that position anymore. I gotta go to the automated place, because if human error keeps happening and I keep getting disappointed, but I understand that it's gonna happen 6 out of 10 times, then who's to blame? It's me. Like I know it's gonna go wrong six out of
Yeah.
ten times, but I
So
keep
why did
going.
you do it? Yeah.
Yeah, but when I order it through an app or online and it's wrong 1 out of 100, bro, I don't like to waste time about the things that I like. And this is what I like about AI. I used to worry about it because the movie shaped your thoughts about it before it became a thing. Terminator and all that. Like now you go talk to an average American, you ask them about AI, and they're like, "Well, you see what happened with John Connors."
Right.
Like they preconditioned you to think that
I
way.
like it. Yeah.
Yeah, and that happens with a lot of things more times than often. It's culturally. So my thoughts on AI is not preconceived notions that are influenced by media. Mine is hands on. Like I see this thing. I've been dealing with AI since 2013. So if anything that can come about to make my life easier in the simplest parts of my life, like ordering groceries, ordering food, getting a ride. I don't want to have to stand on the street and wave a taxi down, bro.
Right.
Like,
Yeah, that's good.
I don't want to have to go stand in front of this lady at the hotel and be like, let me see your ID. You got a credit card? Are you 25? Bro, I just want a room. That's all. I just want to go sleep for 6 hours. But I can go through the prompts and hit a Airbnb. And I ain't even got to do that. I actually have an app to where I can have the AI pre-schedule anything, and if anything comes up, they got to deal with the AI. I don't have to deal with the AI because the AI knows what I'm looking for. It's like having a Jeffrey, a butler. It goes and handles the things that I don't have the time, the minutia of things. What are we talking about? I just want to sleep. I got here at 11:30. I'm gone at 5:30. What are we talking about? You want to early checkout? Do you want breakfast? Bro, don't make my life harder just because for the sake of human interaction. Let's not do that. Like, this is the list, and I go through these prompts and AI, we work it out, and AI knows what I want. It knows what I'm looking for. Prior to AI, you're paying a concierge to do these things for you, and that's costing you an exorbitant amount. So now that eliminates that thing. Like, if I go book a trip, not only AI can book the trip based off my preferences, specifications, it can have all the amenities, it can have the car service, it can have it can purchase the tickets, it can have where I want to sit out on a plane, first class, exit row, whatever, check in, check out, all of that. Bro, do you know how much time it takes when you're booking a vacation for all that nonsense? By the time you're done, you're just like, I just want to get it over.
Right. You don't even want to do it no more.
Yeah, I just want to get it over. So imagine what was the robot in the Jetsons?
Oh, I don't know. I'll AI it real quick.
What was her name? Rosie.
Rosa.
Rosie. When I was a kid watching the Jetsons, I fascinated about that lifestyle. Here we are. I'm 30 years later. Here I am, and there's not only Rosies, there's a million of Rosies, and they're all competing to make your life easier. So if you cannot adapt to this, and I remember when an electric car came out, and because we live in Missouri, and you got these people, and everything is just so bad. They're trying to program us. They're gonna put a microchip in our head, and they're gonna do this. These were not the conversations that I heard in California. I hear these when we're geographically close to the Mason-Dixon line,
Yeah.
because anything that involves freedom and equity or equality is bad. AI's been running these people's lives for at least the last 6 years. The same person that talk about, oh, John Connors, have you seen Terminator? These are the same people go, hey Siri, can you give me directions to XYZ? Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah. Well, and I think, it's just the slow integration of being able to adopt it quickly and understanding that AI, for example, if you live in Southeast Missouri, if I'm a farmer and I say, hey, this has been my crop data for the last 20 years, what are my projections here? Right. I think understanding the ability then to program that into your machine learning allows you to do a lot of different things. Granted, not everybody's sitting around and dealing with it and playing with it and then going on a 2 hour call and saying, okay, what'd you learn about AI this week? Did you see the changes or sending out Twitter? It's just like anything, whenever Apple came out, people were like, Apple is going to destroy the world or the internet's going to destroy the world. And now, how many people do you know that owns an iPhone? Right. And so that was good transition and conversation into speaking of the Mason Dixon line and going into there, what do you think about? I don't know if I want to go about the streaming with Kainet and Drewski, or do we go with the Kendrick, right? And they're both relevant to the topic of conversation with the AI. Now, to the general person, they're like, these two guys, they have nothing to do with each other. Everything has everything to do with everything if you understand how to put it together, right? So let's hit on Kendrick, because I think that helps go into the next conversation about Drewski and Kynat. With, I sent you something the other day, was like, shoot, who was it? Mark Phillips and the RC boys.
Yeah.
These guys are some of the biggest names in the world. Now, in our area, those names don't ring a bell, right? It's like, well, who is Mark Phillips? Who is Drewski? Who is Kynat? Well, if we go, hey, Kendrick, and I want you to touch on that. Kendrick had this show, and everybody's going to look up Kendrick. But if we say anything about those three guys, they're like, oh, they have 8 million followers. What does that even have to do anything? And it's like, no, you don't understand that Kynat and Drewski headed NBA All-Star game, the Celebrity All-Star game this weekend. And so talk on that from a cultural perspective, the transition from AI to real world scenarios, just touching on all those topics. You have your smorgasbord, you feast on it. I got questions, but I want you to start the conversation and then I'll ask the questions.
Yeah, and I'll be simple with it. Like, you know how I am when it comes to culture. Like, I will never not be for Black culture. And when I say Black culture, here's where people have to understand. Yes, I'm half Samoan, I'm half Black, but my culture, Black culture, is exactly that. It's not an ethnicity, it is not an identifier of my makeup. It is a lifestyle. Black culture is what I've been immersed in my whole life. I mean, from the sitting on the stoop, going back and forth, the joning, snapping, capping, playing the dozens, whatever you want to call it. Like, this is culture. My ethnicity is, I identify as what my ethnicity is Black and Samoan. Samoan is, if anybody asks me, I will always tell them I'm Samoan and Black, because I don't have the Samoan culture, because I wasn't exposed to it, because my mom was over here. But my mom is the biggest thing in my life, and she's Samoan, so I identify with all of everything that she taught me, being a Samoan. Never been to Samoa, limited experience with the culture. However, when I'm in a room full of Samoans, you couldn't tell me, and I'm just a darker version of them,
Right.
because my pride for that, it's just great. However, I live in a world of Black culture. And it's not African American. African American is just an identity, but we're talking about culture and lifestyle. So when it comes to what Kendrick was doing, Kendrick has been he's been true to the culture his whole life. There has been no sacrifices. There's been no acquiescing to or sacrificing to becoming a pop star, et cetera, et cetera. It has been the same, consistent across the board. And he makes the type of music. I'm from a different era. I'm from a Pac era, the early Jay-Z era, Mos Def, Talib Kweli. Like, these are rappers that are lyricists, Nas, and they always had a message, or they were telling a story. There was two
That's good.
things.
Wow.
It was always a message, or they were telling a story. And then you have the occasional track where it was a party track. What has happened now, our culture has been dumbed down with party tracks, over synthesized music, and there's no message. There's nothing speaking towards identity. It is just about feelings. Well, you could feel whatever you want, but your reality is always going to be your reality. At the end
Right.
of the day, when you're done popping the perks, the mollies, the bottles, you gotta deal with the real thing now. And that's you being an African American, Black, whatever you want to call yourself, in this culture where you're disenfranchised in every turn, except for when it comes to in a club. When you're in the club, you the livest one. Everybody looks for you. But when you get out of the club and you got to go to your real job, ain't nobody checking for you. Kendrick is an affront to this society or this culture of part. I despise. I'm not gonna lie. I despise Sexy Red. Glorilla I can stomach a little bit because I know Memphis culture and I know what you come. I despise the thought culture. I despise the twerking. I despise the I call it whole culture. I I just do. I despise the drill rap. I despise the mumble rap. I despise the lean Percocet Molly rap. I don't like that. Pac never did anything like that. Biggie didn't. Nas didn't. Like Kumo D, Big Daddy Kane, all these. This is a part of the culture. When we went from civil rights era, the beginning of civil rights, you had a span when JFK got killed from the 70s through the Reagan era. We lost identity. There was nobody speaking about our culture because it was almost like, well, we gave them their rights. What are they going to do now? And every other culture had somebody. You had your what's smoke? What is this dude that get high all the time? Willie Nelson's, your Elvis. You had all these things for their culture, but once we got our rights, we kind of became complacent. And they killed Dr. King, they killed Malcolm X. What? Who was after that? There was nobody from there until Obama. You can say Bill Clinton. Al Sharpton was bought and paid for. Jesse Jackson was bought and paid for. Like they were not speaking culture. I was in the mix of this during this Reagan era, in the Bush era, Daddy Bush, and there was nobody speaking about our culture. There was nobody putting our culture up front. But we had to sit back and watch them take things from our culture and teach me how to Dougie. The butterfly, that's old. Let me see Tootsie Roll, MC Hammer. You can't touch this. They would take from the culture, but they wouldn't take us with that. Well, here you are now. You still didn't have anybody, no voices. You had Pac. Pac came in 94, 94. Look what they did to him. Killed him. Who have you had since Pac? You had Nipsey Hussle. What happened to Nipsey Hussle? Black empowerment, black excellence. Nipsey Hussle was that. Pac was that. And now you have
They
Kendrick.
killed Dr. Sebi too, but yeah.
Well, they killed him before his message could get out to the masses. And if Nipsey Hussle did not talk about Dr. Sebi, Dr. Sebi would be alive. But Nipsey Hussle had the platform to where he could get the message out to the masses, right? So Dr. Sebi has been doing that for like 20 plus years, but nobody got his message because he didn't
And he
have the
beat it in the
platform.
courts. He beat it in the courts
Yeah.
that he cured cancer and all them other, and the pharmaceutical companies didn't like the big pharma.
No, and so he was just, to them that was just like a low level snipe. We clip him because nobody really knows about him. But Nipsey Hussle started bringing attention to him. The sales of CMOS and all of Dr. Sebi's products went through the roof when Nipsey Hussle mentioned it.
And they're still selling. I see all his stuff. They sell it online. Wow.
Yeah, I
They
mean,
use. Go ahead.
I'm about to be 46, I think. I mean, look at me. You don't see that. I'm on these products. My brother's on these products.
Right.
Like I get mistaken. I mean, I get carded often, but I get mistaken for a 30-year-old all the time. But this is the exposure. So get back on the track. What I was talking about is after Pac, there was a big gap. And then who filled the gap? You had Nipsey Hussle was the next person. And as soon as Nipsey Hussle, he was working on that Victory Lap album. Nipsey Hussle had a program to where he brought in, when people were paroled or got out of prison, he put them to work, got them a job, et cetera, et cetera. He set them up like if you just got out of jail, He had a package for you. You come to his store, the Marathon, and he get you clothing, food, etc. And then he put you on a program and start to get you set up and get to transition back into life. Well, Nipsey Hussle got killed. Well, Nipsey Hussle was working on a huge project. Like, my gosh, what happens in Slauson or in that area of Slauson, Crenshaw, and all that? That it was, I loved it. I mean, I love being there, Inglewood, all of that. I fit in just perfectly, but it was an area of hopelessness. But Nipsey started talking about like everything that he did was to promote the culture, to elevate. Well, when him and Kendrick linked up, Kendrick was tapped as the person who was going to take the torch and run with LA. And Nipsey got killed. So Kendrick, not only that, Kendrick had somebody very close to him killed. He went dormant for like 5 years. So when he came back, he didn't come back talking about drugs, killing people, sleeping with a bunch of women, getting drunk and all that. He talked about black excellence and promoting black culture. And guess what happens? People actually start to listen. You're talking about a Pulitzer Prize winner. So he's in a different category. So just to move this conversation forward, my thoughts on Kendrick is it isn't a matter, this isn't a like or dislike. I like Drake, I like Kendrick. Because if you like Drake and you listen to Kendrick, you're still going to be affected profoundly. Because now you're going to split time. Oh, we're going to go out tonight. Nobody ever said, oh, we got a pregame. We got to go out tonight. We're going to hit the club. Let's throw some Kendrick on. Ain't nobody ever said that in their life.
Right.
But if you going through something, what you going to throw on some Kendrick. We going to be all right.
And I think too, and I think it's so profound because you said it, and I posted about, man, they should have brought Lil Wayne on, and then I was like, save the gold because you were hitting on some important pieces of the sexy red culture. Like that's not black culture, right? That's not black excellence. That's what
No.
we're being fed. And you
Yes.
said something really important that, hey, I don't want to have to explain this to my daughter that this is not who we are. So it is frustrating in that regard. And when you listen to guys like Charleston White, right, where people are like, oh, Charleston White crazy, but he's really not. As he says, I'm just doing what the rappers do to everybody else.
Exactly.
So you have a problem with me calling out these rappers, but you're okay with these rappers, as you said, talking about popping the pills and doing all the other stuff, killing somebody, but y'all are okay with that. And I think it's always interesting, because what was so profound about the conversation is we can have those conversations. And I think it's interesting that the impact of black culture, like you had posted somebody hit you in a DM. When did you become pro-black? It's not about being pro-black. It's about understanding. And okay, I'll ask you a question. How do black creatives navigate a fine line between cultural appreciation and exploitation?
I don't think there's a navigation anymore.
Gotcha.
All the rules, there's no more rules, right? The attack on minorities is so in your face right now that when Obama became president, that was a time of navigation because he was trying to bring the country together. Despite all the things that they said about him, his wife, and his daughters, he still advanced the conversation, right? And the attacks went from subliminal to overt, but they were not, they wasn't as strong overtly. It was a jab here, a jab there. Then in 2016, there came a man who everybody on the side of hate had this thought. If I like, here's the dog whistle, the major dog whistle for them explaining it away. Well, he just speaks his mind. He tell it how it is. As long as you can feel comfortable with that notion, whatever he says, you're complicit with, right? So you start to understand the nuances because he's not coming directly and saying directly what you feel, but he's at the same time making you comfortable with feeling what you feel.
Right.
And he's showing you how to say that thing, and you're good with it, right? So fast forward, you had the 2020 run. The megaphone got bigger, the hate got greater, and now when he loses, it's like, well, he gave us a playbook of how to say these things and get away with it. But since he lost, all bets are off. Now we're gonna say what we feel because he's emboldened them, right? But there's still a line. They stop at the line because it's covert. The way they say it is covert. This presidency run, when he became president, in their head, they're like, he beat all odds. We say whatever we want to say. No dog whistles or nothing. We say whatever we want to say. And that's exactly how they feel. This president, 47th president, has emboldened people to say the things that they've been saying around their kitchen table, but they would never say in public. Well, he's emboldened them to now say those things in public. Like I had to tell a dude just recently, he's going back and forth with me. And I'm like, yo, like in my head, I already know how this ends, but I'm gonna hear him out. And he yap and he yap, and I had to tell him, I said, yo, bro, Donald Trump got security. You don't. Like what I would do to you in this parking lot for what you trying to say to me, because I hear the dog whistle. I grew up in the South. So the things that you may hear and take you time to decipher, no, bro, the moment it comes out of his mouth or their mouth, I've heard this when I was chopping cotton, pitching watermelons, picking strawberries. I've heard these things. The race fights that we used to have at lunchtime, the same conversations that you're hearing on TV amongst the conservatives and Trump. I've heard these when I was a child, and it would build up from 8 o'clock until 11:40 when we had lunch. It's the same conversations. They were emboldened to say it in a small town community because what were the repercussions? You only got 13 blacks that go to the school. They did the numbers. That's the thing I give them credit for. They did the numbers. Like we beat up a Negro, we beat up a colored person in the lunchroom or in the locker room, or we say these things that Trump's. I've heard these things that Trump's saying for a long time, bro. It's not the first time. That's why I'm alarmed when I hear it. So when we talk about culture, you have to understand. I'm not against you feeling slighted or whatever, but there is no way you can be the dominant class in a society and claim you're the minority. It's impossible. It is impossible, bro. So I don't jive with any of that. And now I will say this. This is something I had a conversation with a person today. Because I have these conversations with these MAGAs all the time. And I told them, I said, I need you to understand something. For whatever you think that Trump is going to impose to affect my life, I said, you've met one of the people that no policy or decisions or anything he has going on will ever affect me directly. You may have some things like the DEI. Now you can discriminate against women, minorities, etc. And then the federal grant freeze, so my son doesn't get his Pell Grant, which he's still covered because I made sure he was an A+ student, so he still got school covered. So I'm not worried about that. But you can openly discriminate now, which I can teach my kids know how to navigate that. But here's the thing. Now, here's what people don't talk about. In the corporate world, discrimination, my kids will be able to handle that. But if harassment happens, there is nothing that there's no department that she can go to. There's no lawsuit that she can file because they harassed her because of her sex. That's off the table now. That's the one thing that I did not see coming. And that's something I'm going to have to figure out because you can openly discriminate and they can't sue. There's no lawsuit now for sexual harassment. That's done. So I'm going to have to up her defense. There's nothing to talk about, honey. Hit Buddy in his throat, kick him in the inside of his knee,
Right.
collapse his body, knee him to the nose, and keep him moving. And then they ask, now that's on them to figure out what happened. So that's the new thing. But there's no policy, Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, whoever, is ever going to affect me because I know how to get to the money. I don't care who's the president. I don't care what discrimination tactics you have. I know how to get to the money. So none of it will ever affect me. And this is something my mom and my dad both taught me, how to work in the margins. My brother taught me this. I work in the margins. There's no policy that's ever going to affect me. You can discriminate all you want. The more discrimination you're going to do, the more I'm going to want to cohabitate or have relationships with the empowered class because I can do that. So I don't.
So I got a question for you because people are going to listen to this and they're going to wonder. Uh, my thing is and the reason why I said that is because even though they can do all that, and what you're saying is profound because Drewski and Kainet has broken the code, and I don't mean code like that, and people are going to get this wrong. But what I'm saying is they're doing what you're talking about. Who can cancel them? How? They've made it. I
Let me
sent you
tell
the
you
thing.
something about those two
Yeah.
that a lot of people are overlooking. What they're doing, and this is what I talked about at the early of the last time we were on, authenticity. So
Oh, you sure did. I was going to touch on something about that, but yeah, go ahead.
this is where everything is gravitating to because you see the disconnect with national media and etc. Everybody's turning away from that. The Netflix, all of that, like the regular programming, they're looking for authenticity. And the thing that Drusy and Kai Cenat does, they are super authentic and realistic. There's no programming, no anything. Who identifies with that? The youth. Because we have a generation of kids for the first time in history that is bombarded with so much media that is biased one way or the other. Like, you ever thought when you were 12, 13, 14, imagine 50 different people coming to you with differing opinions and they did it all day, every day? You would go crazy. Well, these kids, they don't go crazy, they go towards authenticity. So they will watch a Kai Cenat 24-hour marathon because they know he doesn't have a message or propaganda that he's trying to push. He's me. This is what I look like if I put a camera up. So now he also not only makes them feel comfortable with who they are, he gives them aspiration that they could do the same thing by just being them. And this is where content is going. And if you can't get into two lanes, you have the AI lane and you have the authenticity lane or authentic lane, your message is going to get lost because the only thing that's going to happen, the only way you can combat AI and authenticity is to push more propaganda. Overwhelm them, make them give up. That's what Kaisen at, because you got a lot of streamers. There's a lot. I guess I've seen a lot of streamers that are making a lot of money, but
Mr. Beast is one of them, but yeah.
I don't know any of them.
Yeah,
I
Mr. Beast is
literally
one.
watch Kai Cenat and Drewski because they just I identify with the realness of it, especially Drewski. Like I'm a huge Drewski fan because it's just like my personality.
I already know.
Like Kai Cenat is a little younger, so
Right.
but because he is younger, guess who's watching him? My daughter. She was like, I was going through reels and one of his popped up and I had no clue she watched Kai Cenat. And she was like, "Oh, is that Kai Cenat?" And I'm like, "How do you know about it?" She's like, "Oh, I love him."
Right.
So knowing that, me as a parent, that's important that I know because there's a lot of parents that don't know that. So these parents take this kid, right? And they go to the family functions. And the family functions is all just propagandized. And then you bring this child to the function who is anti propaganda and the authenticity. So, guess what you do? Now you have polarized them to go completely opposite. So, authentic content, like just putting up a camera and you streaming, exactly what it is. Like I talked about this, like just put cameras up.
Well, that's what even Snoop Dogg did. One day, Snoop Dogg just forgot to turn his camera off, and he streamed all day while he was out working. And then he came back. He was like, "Oh, this, Snoop Dogg." He's like, "Oh, I left this up," and people watched it the whole time.
Yes,
They
the whole
watched an
time,
empty room,
bro.
an
These
empty room. I
these
watched
dudes
it.
go to
I
the
went.
bathroom. Yeah, I'm like, I'm stuck. I'm waiting for them to come back from the bathroom. I'm just like, what am I
I'm
doing?
like, where's Snoop Dogg? I'm like, Snoop Dogg, where you at, man? I'm waiting the whole time. Snoop like, oh my bad, y'all went to record. Like, bro, we sat here for 3 hours waiting for you to come back on this camera, man. Like, but
You
that's
want
what
to
you're
know
talking
why?
about. Yeah, go ahead.
Because take the camera away and put you in those shoes.
Right.
That's
It's
you.
not. Yeah.
That's what we do on a daily basis. We don't go out and do all these elaborate things. Like if today is our day off, what are we gonna do? We're gonna turn the TV on, and then we're
Right.
gonna get on the game, and we're gonna be talking mad trash,
Right.
and we're gonna look and see what's on the TV. Then we'll say about something about what we seen, and this is us. We are actually seeing us, and we get we draw the correlation of like, yo, this is a media darling, and he does the same thing that I do, and I identify with that thing. And then the icing on the cake is that person who is considered a celebrity or influencer is telling you, I'm not an influencer. I'm just doing what you're doing.
Right. And that's the profoundness. Well, and I think this is so big because you said it at the beginning of the show was we're what you need. You don't know it yet, but we're what you need because we're like the uncles, right? Like we're the uncles that sit on the phone or your old grandma. You know how your grandma or your mom used to sit on the phone with her girlfriend talking for hours. You're like, dang, mom, get off the phone. You don't talk to it. Or grandpappy is, granddad doesn't
Yeah.
get on the phone, but you see him sitting at the corner spot and they sitting there talking and they telling the young boys, hey, young boys, y'all shouldn't be doing that. And they like, oh, hell, we should be doing that. Next thing you know, when they grow up, they're the new old heads sitting on the corner saying, hey, young blood, you shouldn't be doing that. And that young boy said, man, hey, oh, time to get out the way. You know what it is. And then they become the next cycle of people that's going to be the Lemi and Justin on the call saying, hey, man, what do you think about these changes and talking about the Kendrick? And I do think it's interesting because dealing with Black culture, right, and hearing it directly from people and not media propaganda, right? I remember somebody said something to me, my cousin goes, hey man, them people don't like us. And I said, what's they got to do with me? I said, do they like green? He said, what does that mean? I said, do they like money? I said, because if I'm bringing business in here and they're getting business, who cares? I said, and I get what you're saying. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is, at the end of the day, the green bill rules the world. That's the only color that rules the world. And if we're not getting to this money, we're behind the eight ball. He's like, I never thought of it like that. I said, I'm aware of these situations with people, but I can't let that rule. Like you said, like we just have to learn. We got to navigate it. We got to deal with it. We know it's there. We can't let that stop the money because how many of these people understand AI to its core? Right now, me and you talked about it all the time. Building AI systems. Like I'm building an AI OS system right now. Um, that guess what? I don't have to be in front of that. Nobody needs to know I'm building that. And when it launches, ain't nobody gonna know. And guess what? I'm gonna be cool. I'm gonna be like you. I'm gonna be at the corner spot on the stoop with you while the money is racking in from decentralized currency, decentralized money. And guess what? Our kids ain't gonna worry about it. Cause hey, well, they created this OS operating system and it just gets handed down through the family. So now we just circumvent the whole corporate, all that just nonsense. You just cut that out. You just cut the middleman out. You just build your own corporation. But not everybody thinks in those terms. And so I had a question for you about decentralized currency, is why I brought that up. You brought up something important about what Elon's doing on the phone call that we had on Friday.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, what do you think about this statement? We're in a new age of content creation where AI and decentralization are making it easier than ever to build independent media brands. The role of decentralized media, traditional media, which you talked about, is struggling with independent creators, while independent creators are thriving. Platforms like Rumble, X, Twitter, and Locals are helping podcasters bypass censorship, reach niche audiences, and AI is leveling the playing field. So we've already talked on that, and we talked about Kai Cenat, and we talked about Drewski, we talked about Snoop Dogg, we talked about, you even told your nephew years ago, stream your life.
Yeah.
Think about it, they were a bunch of basketball players, stream your life. Then that would have been worth millions today.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? And what was this last point? What do you think about the attention economy is wide open? More people are consuming audio, video content than ever before. People are it's so funny because I didn't read this part. And you ready for this? People crave authenticity. Mainstream media is losing trust. Independent voices have never been more valuable. You just said all that, and and this was not staged. Talk to him. Talk to him. I'm telling you, this, me and Lemi had not talked about the prompts that I had from my AI platform about this. Talk to him about that, aligning with what you just said. We never talked anything about this. Even on Friday, we didn't talk about it.
So I think initially, right now, there is, and I don't know how other way to say this, there is a great deception going on right now that is when it comes to decentralized currency and then the breakup of linear media. I think that is a fallacy initially. Now, I'm going to break this into two parts because AI is the equalizer to what's happening. So right now, you don't think every major corporation is seeing the shift towards these streamers, etc., authentic conversations, Joe Rogans and Patrick David Betts and all that,
Those
Theo
are good
Von.
ones.
So
Those are good.
they see this.
Andrew Tate.
Yeah, like these are billion-dollar conglomerates that are losing to $1,000 setups, right? And ego tells them, we got this kind of money, and we have these personalities, and we have this and this and this. There is no way we should be losing to that. They're not going to lose to that. What they're going to do is set up false. It will seem organic, and you're going to have a new wave of podcasters, et cetera, that instead of giving you the blanket linear media message, they're going to break those messages up amongst multiple podcasts. They're still cutting the check, except for now they have, in essence, diversified their dissemination of information. Instead of you turning on a Fox News and hearing all these talking points, no, there's going to be this podcast that handles 2 talking points, this podcast that handles 2, and they're going to operate under an era of authenticity, and they'll build their own basis. But all these things will answer to Daddy Corporation. As long as you can keep them there, what happens now is you get a sense of authentic information. And it's not overwhelming talking points. And this podcast isn't having the same talking points as this. But if you really got a brain, they kind of have the same overarching thing, but there's just enough disconnect to where you don't connect them, right? So that's the thing. Well, here's where AI is going to disrupt that process because they're going to get a good 6 to 10 months run at it. But the way AI is developing right now, AI is the new fact checker. AI can link these two things together. They can
Right.
tell you who pays this person and who pays this person, and they can even go deeper. AI can even go deeper and say, oh no, This is a broad message that's just been broken up into pieces, and these are the 5 players that are disseminating the information. Like, this is how that works. So AI, a lot of people want to run away from it, but it actually is going to protect them from the thing that they're running towards. Like, you're running from AI towards this individualized messaging, but the big corporation who has been, they've been entrenched in messaging since the 40s. So when World War II was going on, that's when you had the big dissemination of information. Walter Cronkite came in the late 60s and 70s, and Dan Rathers, and like, these are titans, Mount Rushmore, and they came after what Hitler tried to do. Hitler did what Donald Trump is doing right now when it comes to messaging. Like, we're going to purge all of the mainstay media, and then we're going to take it over, and it's going to be state controlled media, and they're going to they're going to get the propaganda out. They're propagandize our messages. But he broke it up, and that made, so if you're in Minnesota, you don't experience the same thing that the people in Texas experience. But if I have a conglomerate and a propagandized message and a way of getting it to you, I'm just going to get it to you in Minnesota terms, and the same company is going to get it to you in Texas terms. And that's why they call it state-run media. Hitler was the first to do it, and that's what we're having. But they're going to break the state-run media and run it like your mom and pop shop podcast. That's why you have Joe Rogan getting this message, Theo Vine getting this message out. Think about it. They're all conservative, right wing, Charlie Kirk, all of them, Patrick David Bett, they all had a version of his message, but
Right.
they didn't say the whole message. They only told this. Patrick David Bett, it was economics. Charlie Kirk, conservative. Joe Rogan was bro code, bro, like a regular old whatever. Theo Vaughn was like, I don't care about all this. I just want to drink beer, and like, there were versions of it. And this is
Right.
what's happening, and people don't realize that. But AI is the one thing that's going to break that up. And I got to go from headphones to regular.
Yeah, that's cool. I don't even know where my battery's at.
Bro, I don't even know how this
Let me
battery
see where my battery.
fast. But anyways, think about it. Think about all the messaging. Everybody, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Everybody praised Joe Rogan, and Kamala Harris didn't go to Joe Rogan. She didn't go to Patrick David Bed. She didn't do this. What? Because she understood, like, these messages were, you had a whole conglomerate that was broken up, and it made it look like it was organic. It wasn't organic. It's all design. Because Joe Rogan used to be one of the most progressive people ever. But anyways, that's what's happening right now when it comes to media. So to answer your question, my thoughts on it is it's a scam, because people are going to get comfortable with these micro messaging platforms
Yeah.
operating under the false sense of authenticity. But there's going to be a wave that fights that. I'm not Democratic. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. When it comes to being independent, I'm as independent as it gets. I mean, usually down ticket, I vote Republican. I mean, you got Kevin Engler's my man. Like, all these representatives, like, I know personally from Missouri, they're all Republican. But I vote for what's going to happen to my kids. I don't vote for what happens to me, because to me, my voting for my life was 18 to 26. You only get like 8 years to impact your 40s, 50s, 60s. So 8 to 12 years. So you turn 18, you can vote at 18. 4 years later, you're looking at 22, 26, and then 30. So those are the 4 cycles you vote to dictate what you want to happen in your 40s, 50s, 60s. Because after that, it don't matter, because the population has increased so much. So When I get to 32, 34, 36, I'm voting for my kids' interests. Because if I ain't got my stuff together through my first 12 years of voting, then you just got to figure it out, bro. And that's
Well,
where we're at.
Well, I think what, and I'm not pivoting, but I'm going to stay on this because it's important to the conversation, was a Super Bowl commercial that I sent you, T-Mobile and Starlink.
Oh, yeah, big time.
Talk about that.
I told you that before that even happened, though.
That's why I was having you talk about it, because I don't think people realize the movement and wave that we're in. And I think, and you said it best, they're getting you caught on these emotions and this messaging. But me and you're looking at it like, what's the end game here? Like, we need to be on that wave so we can get in the $1 million, because when these big chess pieces start moving, there's money in the mix somewhere. And I know some people be like, Justin, you guys, all you talk about is money and AI. What else is there for us to talk about? Granted, okay. What about the social issues? Okay, I get it, right? The social issues will be fixed when we get the money.
Yeah,
That's the bottom line.
every
That's the bottom line.
you can be, dialed down to having or not having finances. So it becomes a social issue because you don't have money and you can't figure out how to get the money. Therefore, you focus on the messaging of it. I mean, yeah. So, anyways, when it comes to, so I told you that this was going to happen. I told you maybe 2 weeks. Yeah, I think it was 2 weeks before it even was announced that this.
Yeah, be
Well, here's the next thing that's going to happen that people don't realize, and you call it, you heard it here first. Maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't, but I'm pretty certain it's going to happen. Elon, this is a test run with T-Mobile, right? Elon already has done this run in other countries, and it has, you have these metrics. If it gets above a certain percent success rate, then okay, we can roll it to this. So here's what happens next. So people think you switching over to T-Mobile, you lose service, you're still going to have service with Starlink. That technology has always been in existence. It just hasn't been a partner. The government hasn't partnered with it. So when the government gave Elon Musk these contracts to operate low atmosphere
satellite.
satellites, it was unheard of, right? So Elon Musk sets up these lower satellites. Well, these satellites has multiple capabilities, and providing communication is one, but also navigation, like spying on other countries. Like, so when they gave him the money to do it, do you see what he did in Ukraine? He shut their satellites off, and nobody had any connectivity, and that was his first test run. So here's what happens next. You get T-Mobile, Verizon will be next, AT&T will be the last adopter, and AT&T has the biggest market share. So to circumvent that, Elon Musk is just going to cut a deal with Apple, build it into the iOS. We'll cut cellular providers out of the business, and he's going to leverage that against the cellular providers to where if you have a cell phone, you have an Apple phone, iOS, it's going to automatically connect to Starlink. Him being in the government now, he's going to have every freaking contract to expand Starlink. So actually, I got to send you a video. I got the Starlink satellites on video. Me and Maya went to this event and we watched it, and we got to see the satellites in Terra Grove Park, and it's kind of dope. So the night when the satellites exploded on the election night, when I watched that video, I was like, "Yeah, that's real," because I got a video of them damn satellites doing that. But anyways, what's going to happen? They're going to phase out cellular companies, or they're going to put their thumb on cellular companies and say, if you want to operate, you want to do business without us taking your customers, here's how you're going to do it. Well, where do you go to look for information? On your phone.
Well, they'd had, yeah, I was about to say search engines, but from your phones, yeah.
Yeah, you go on your phone.
Well, at this point, I don't even use Google anymore. I just go on my MacBook to AI and use the search feature, and then to have a conversation with AI about the information I found, then connect all the dots from there.
Yeah, we know how you got to that point. But we're talking about Your average Joe Schmo who is trying to look up directions to go to the nearest
Oh, I see what you're
bargain.
talking about. Yeah, gotcha. Yeah,
So now, not only do we control, so where do you go look up information or news? You go to your phone, right?
right.
So if I control your access to interconnectivity, to search engines, et cetera, how hard is it for me to feed you propaganda?
Well, not hard at all because it just uploads on the Apple News feed right there. But
So if I, well, all right, so let's say you go, well, all that's just crap because I only listen to XYZ. Guess who funds XYZ? Who gets, I mean, so if you, the person that you listen to or whatever is talking about this thing and then you close it, but you only go to them once a week, right? Joe Rogan every Tuesday. The other 6 days out of the week, what are you doing? You're Googling this, you open up Safari. Guess what? There's always going to be a feed of what Joe Rogan said, Patty David Betts, or whomever. Like, this is how propaganda works. This is how state run media works. You can have an idea to do it, but you have to have the mechanism to disseminate it. So, him striking a deal, he's in control of all the government contracts right now. So you don't think AT&T gets subsidies?
right.
You don't think T-Mobile gets subsidies? T-Mobile was very brilliant. They said, "Hey, I don't, we're not even going to take a chance. We're number 3 on the list. So yeah, whatever you're doing, we want to be a part of." But Elon has a long play, and it's going to be with the iOSs. Why would I have to go through a cellular company, when I actually provide the same thing that they provide?
So let me ask you a question there. Why Apple directly? Why wouldn't he go to Samsung or any of these other providers
Well, Apple.
or Google or build his own?
Well, he's way ahead of them on that, because that. Why do you think there was a big kiss the ring ceremony with Jeff Bezos, Zuckerberg, all behind Trump? They didn't support Trump, but when they figured
Gotcha.
out what Elon did and that Trump was going to win, they were standing right behind him on inauguration day.
Gotcha.
So Elon has set up an infrastructure way ahead of them that they now have to go buy into that. Starlink is just a master play on world dominance. It literally is off of Austin Powers.
Yeah, I remember you telling me because we're the two brothers. They're both brothers, which is so funny. They're twin.
Yeah,
One's the hero and the villain in the same movie, and they're twin.
and that's what he did. You say, why don't they, like, you don't need a cellular provider if you can connect directly to Starlink, because Starlink does the same thing.
Wow.
It
No,
does.
I was saying why would Elon just go straight to Apple and why not Samsung or one of these other cell companies?
Well, you got to go to Apple because Apple is the it holds the largest market share, and it's you just go. That's like, why don't I go, instead of going to Nike? Why don't I go to Under Armour? Like, I mean,
Right. No, I was just wondering for people at home that's like the significance of Apple, but
because everything adapts to Apple. Like Samsung, what their S25, exceptional. It's exceptional. It's I ain't gonna lie. It does way more than iPhone 16, but it's still a Samsung, and it's the brand.
you fool, you fool. Hold on, man, you a fool for that. Yeah. I was about to say, tell Tate to send me one of them pullovers you got with that
I
slew billicus on.
I got.
That's tough.
He hooked it up. Like, yeah, shout out to,
Tell Tate, come on, man. Tell Tate to hook me up, man.
you. Got a good eye.
That's nice. I was like, come on, man. Come on, Tate. Come through. But no, man, I think for people, where we're going, and for me, I think about the content, the media company, and where that's going. And now it's so prevalent. And I have a question because when is the market? Let me ask you, with knowing the Starlink, knowing the propaganda and all that, to bring it back for the person that's like, okay, that's way too far ahead of me. Podcasting and streaming, because I wanted to ask this earlier. What are your thoughts with the rise of streaming platforms? Is it forcing podcasters to rethink their structure? What, or is it going to blend the worlds? Because I think there's going to be whoever can blend it the best is going to be ahead. What do you think about that? And I'm going to tie it back to the Starlink because that's important, right? Like everything that we're doing is important because for a person that doesn't have direct internet, but if they have an iPhone with Starlink and they get a free subscription to come up with Justin or Lemi podcast, that's a huge deal in my eyes. Or maybe that's too big of a business thought there. I don't know. Break that down.
No, so
What do
the
you think?
first part of your question is a very valid question. And my response to that is no, it's, they don't have to rethink. I got to get some more lighting in here. They don't have to rethink their approach. Let me take that back. They should rethink their approach, but they won't, because we're not talking about business people. We're not talking about business first. We're talking about people who are entertainers, and then they become good at entertaining that they have to now mind their business. So they're not thinking from the standpoint that you're thinking. Should they? Yeah, because it's going to be too late. They won't recover. The streamers, podcasters, YouTubers, if they do not look at the landscape and see what's coming, they won't be able to recover. They won't be able to adjust because it's moving too fast. Hell, we talked 2 days ago, and I'll send it to you in the morning. It's almost everything that I told you is outdated 2 days ago.
Right. Yeah. Literally. Yeah.
So, and I stay on top of this day by day because I told you I'm waiting for that moment. Like I missed the 2020 TikTok and all that, in which, I mean, could you imagine me on film? Like, think about it. Throw up a camera at Applebee's. It would be 100 million users from that time frame that we worked there. You're
Right. Wow.
talking about just epic content. And every day, I have some of the most epic moments in life that, like, when I get home, I just sit and I go to myself, I can't believe that happened to me. For me to say something like, I can't believe that happened to me, is crazy, because I've pretty much done everything and had lived I don't lived a million lifetimes, but still it's outdated. What happened today is outdated. That's how, and this is just in regular terms. AI is only going to accelerate that 100x.
Right.
So if they can't adopt, it's too late to adopt it now. If you hadn't already, like, if I was a streamer right now, there would already be you would know. I would make it obvious, the AI integrations, but you don't see that now because they're stuck. And what happens? You can go from 10 million to 100,000 in a day.
Wow. Yeah, we really should have been streaming this. I think these conversations are streamed podcast hybrid. While I'm sitting here thinking about it, I was like, oh my gosh, we should have had this on a stream.
Oh, bro, it's coming. If I thought it was absolutely like it, you just got to do it. You got to do it. I would have told you. But it doesn't get any more authentic than this. Like, I would watch, me personally, I would watch something like this, because a lot of times you have two categories. A person is watching for content and the message and the subject matter. And then you have the other half that's watching for what could happen.
Right.
I'm one of those ones that I watch a lot of shit just to see a lot of stuff, to see what could possibly go wrong. Like, I watch Kai Cenat. When I watch Kai Cenat, I'm looking at everything but him. And you have that cat. So how can you dial in on that group of people who got the short attention span, that they're looking like, I'm looking at his shoes, I'm looking at his posters. I don't even really know what he'd be talking about. I ain't gonna lie to you. I really don't even know what he's talking about. Now, Drewski, he my kind of guy.
I already know.
Like, so, but or funny Marco. But
Yeah, Marco. Yeah, funny.
when it comes to watching Kai Cenat, I don't know what he even talks about. I look at everything else that's going on around him. Now, if Kevin Hart's on the show, I already know it's gonna be special. But them
Right.
niggas is weird to me. But it's the environment that he creates that seems so relatable that I swear to you, I don't know what the hell he even be talking about. I ain't gonna lie to you. I don't. I don't.
Well, I think because he's got his core demographics down, I think that's a good business aspect. Because I listen to it just to study it. Like I'm like, okay, I really need to be in tune into what these cats are doing. You know, for me, my type of flavor is Mark Phillips and their RDC world people. You know, all them dudes be
Yeah, no,
cracking me up
that
because they
dude
do a good
brilliant.
job of they do a good job of blending anime and sports and just the everything. You know, they do a good job, and I think guys are so creative in terms of empowerment and what they've done with their ability because these guys they created their own lane. You know, like they don't need the mega company to step in and run nothing for them. I think that's so important because now you look at Kai Cenat and he's got a multi-million-dollar platform. So does Drewski and so does Mark Phillips. What's Buddy name? Oh, what's his name? Oh, I forgot his name. He did his own version of R. Kelly's Trapped in the Closet.
I don't know who that is.
I'm looking up his name right now. His name is right on the tip of my tongue too, James.
But to speak on this will get you. So you remember at the beginning when we started, you said, "Oh, you ain't figure out them backgrounds."
Yeah.
I guarantee you, if we were live and we had chat rolling, there would be a crazy amount of people trying to figure out where I'm at right now.
Oh yeah.
There's no doubt about it. People would just be watching to see, and they'd be looking for visual cues of where he at, what he got going on. Like how you picked up on me wearing the St. Louis thing. Like that's a lot of people watch podcasts and YouTube shows for that reason.
I gotta find this. The dude that the Storm dude caught series.
I ain't seen it. I have to check it out.
I'm going to send it to you. Anyways, but yeah, no. And the thing is, because that's gonna pique the curiosity of the people that's nosy in the first place on your on like where is he at? Especially because you got the secret admirers crowd that follows you in the background.
It's crazy. Like that's something like me and T need to get into because I got stories, bro, that happen to me on a daily basis. It's just like even me, I just go, ain't no way. Ain't no way these things keep happening to me on a daily basis. Like a lady came up to me today and she looked at me, white lady. When I say, oh, she ain't old, she like 45, 50. And she just kept looking me up and down. She said, boy, you sure are a tall drink of water. Yo, most people would be
What?
flattered, right? And she was flat. She could get it, no lie. I looked at her and I said, well, I guess you thirsty? And she just looked at me and just started blushing. Like, so you gonna say something crazy and then I respond and then you just gonna blush? Like, what you thought you was gonna get one off?
Right.
Like, these things happen on a daily basis to me, man. Like, I tell my brother stories all the time and he just be like, he told me the other day, he said, boy, you just one of them ones, huh? And I was like, I don't even know what you mean. I don't ask for none of this. Like, I put the Facebook post about Shorty mad for Galentine's, and I thought it was a cool idea. There's probably a million men would have loved that opportunity to go on a date. Bro, when you done been there and done that, you're not surprised about a lot of things, and you're just not excited about a lot of things. Like, oh well. So when it comes to content, that's what the authenticity is about. So I tell these stories on camera, you become invested in something that never is going to happen to you. So there's a group that can relate. For everything that you do on camera, there's a group that can relate, and there's a group that can't relate and hope to relate. So either way, you get a group that hates because they've been through it, but they're still invested because they know that there's only a handful of people that can relate to these stories. Then you got a group of people who can't relate, that hope to relate, and they're invested. So that's what authentic material, authentic content gives you. It gives you the opportunity. Usually, when you don't like something, you turn the TV off, right?
Yeah.
But when it's authentic comments or authentic content, you don't turn it off. You just wait. You sit there, wait. Oh, I'm going to catch them up. You just wait, but you're still watching for the same reason that people keep people on their Facebook that they don't like. They just do that, like just out of hate. Like, you don't like what I say, just block me, delete me.
But they can't. They can't help it.
It's called hate watching.
Yeah. You told me this a couple of weeks
Yeah.
ago. Because we was no a couple months ago because we was talking about our views. I'm like, man, I don't even know how my view. I got 150,000 views. I'm like, bro, I got 20,000, 2,000 people on my Facebook. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah. So you know how usually when you can relate to this. So you put a video or a photo up, it's usually gonna have a lot more views or interactions, right? Engagement.
Yeah.
My text comments gets about 10,000 views with just text. I got 799 people. I don't even know how many I got, but I think it's 799 friends or 699. How am I getting 10,000 on just a text? On just words.
Yeah, that's I don't know how that's crazy.
I don't boost the post, none of that. But like, what's the last? Oh, the Galentine's one went crazy,
Yeah, I need to go look at that.
and it was just a conversation between me and T because I asked her what is Galentine's, and she told me. So the next,
Oh, you know what you did? You pinged the algorithm, your conversation, because they do that. That's why I was getting at on that post. You hit the algorithm with the trending. So when you go to Facebook and you hit the trending topics, your thing was catchy enough that they catch it in their newsfeed when people are searching for.
see, this is the one thing I have not set out to. I know all the other platforms algorithms. Facebook, Meta, I hadn't even attempted to get into. So I guess that makes sense because I don't know anything about Meta's algorithm. Like because I don't do like Facebook is like me going back to Haiti and talking to my aunts and uncles and all of that. Like that's how I see Facebook. It's kind of antiquated for me. But in this area, I guess in Missouri, Facebook is the predominant platform. So all my other platforms where I put content on, it's like people from all over the world. So I don't know. So I have to understand those algorithms because that really pays me. Like my faceless YouTubes is like 5,900 a month. So and I don't have nobody in that's a friend on Facebook that's a subscriber on my faceless YouTube. So, but I don't know. Like I gotta figure out the algorithm. If they pay more, maybe I would explore it. But Facebook to me is just like me getting one off. Like that's all to me. Really, that's all it is. Because I know there's more hate watchers on Facebook for me than anything. Like there really it is. Like I put something on there about I had 18,000 about I'm sorry I didn't know my color was the reason why I failed at everything in life. You know, sarcasm, satire, and people putting all these little with the little smiley face hugging the heart like care. Like people was putting that on there. I was like, you really don't realize that this is satire? Like you think I blame my color? So, but anyways, this goes towards understanding content generation. And I don't think Facebook is a sustainable platform for content generations. However, they just made a heavy investment into AI company, which could change everything for them. But we'll see. I'll send you all these links that I just bookmarked today on Twitter because like Twitter is where I'm always on.
Yeah, like I posted. Oh, okay. I posted Charleston White. So I posted Charleston White. It's 7% non-followers, 93% followers, 183 reach.
Oh, that's crazy because my non-followers is like 40+%, and the
Yeah,
followers
that's
is like
crazy.
60. And I just know it's hate watching. Like if I throw up a video, that's why I kind of chill out on videos. I got a couple of coming out this week, but it's hate watching, bro. Like when I was doing stories a year ago, I was doing stories. My stories in like the first hour or 2 hours, because I had to set like when people first wake up, I understood first thing they do is go to Facebook. So my stories would come out like between 5:30 and 6:30 a.m. That's when my posts, because I just understand like when I wake up, I say my prayer. After that, the first thing I do is check Facebook or socials. So what are you gonna do? You see a new story, you're just gonna click on it. Because what you do when you're getting ready in the morning, you will click on a story, and while you're brushing your teeth, you can't stop the story. It go to the next story and then to the next and to the next. So I understood that when it came to algorithm, and like I'm getting 1,800 views in the first 2 hours of the morning.
Right.
And then like when people get off work, like dinner time was when I was posting stories at like 5:30, 7:30 was when I was posting stories, because when you get home, and I only speak from my experience, and this was one of the problems that I had. I almost said, "Oh, girl, get off work at like 4:35." But you know what the first thing she did?
Get on your Facebook.
Get on Facebook or just who who cooking dinner? And if you did cook dinner, it was in a crock pot. So you had 2 hours. And what do you do for them 2 hours? Kid going, I need some help with my homework. And I'm looking around like, yo, you can just hear go from real to real. You feel me? Like, yo,
I just caught the connection. Boy, wait a minute.
bro,
You almost got me tripped. Almost said something out loud. I was like, had to catch my brain. My brain was like, dang, catch what he just said. Cause I was typing so I literally typed, what did y'all cook for dinner? Cause I was trying to look at this algorithm. And then I caught who you was talking about in that's caught
bro, this was my life. Like
oh my
Saturday
gosh. I just
morning. Saturday morning was worse because I always make my kids breakfast. I just do. But it'd be like, boom, wake up. Maya's 90 miles an hour. I got to entertain that. Hey, yo. And just, you hear swipe, 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 swipe. Hey, yo, I'm in here trying to, and I don't make regular breakfast. You know, I don't make regular food. I don't do no Pop Tarts or no waffles in them thing. Like, if I'm going to make waffles, it's going to be from scratch. So there's some things that's got to happen. But
right.
Maya running her dad, come here, come here, come here. I need help putting this together. Hey, yo, you. So I understood the time. Saturday, Sunday mornings, this is the time where these type of people doom scroll. So that's when
That's
I,
funny.
you know, so that's when I shoot my stories out because they just gonna doom scroll. So, and what I do, like you ever notice on my post, there'll be a post that is attention grabbing. Then I will change my profile picture. Then there'll be another post. Then I'll change the whatever that other picture is, like your page picture or whatever. Then
the
I
cover photo
yeah, cover
and
photo.
profile picture. Yeah.
Then I'll do a reel. So this is what I understand about it. And I'd all do it at the same time, like within minutes of each other, because when you see the first initial post that invokes emotion, there's no call to action. So you kind of feel guilty. So when you see that the next thing goes, Lemi updated his profile picture and it's a picture of like Mia Maya or Mason, whatever. Now you can satisfy that guilt by clicking on like on that picture. Then there's another post, just typed out post within minutes of that post, which you're now on the fence. 50% will engage. So then I changed the cover photo. So now you engage with the cover photo. Then I hit you with the what is it? The short reel or whatever they call it on Facebook story. So I hit you with the story, and then on the story, my story just go crazy because you feel guilty because you wanted to interact with the other one, but you're so concerned about if someone's seen your like, and you have to deal with that person daily or on a weekly basis or even see them, you're less likely to like this thing, but you're more likely to like the story. So, and I did it. It would be like 5 posts within a matter of 10 to 12 minutes. And the engagement would just be crazy. But now with AI coming out and with what Meta's about to do with AI, I ain't even got to do that anymore.
Right.
I mean, I ain't got to do it anyway, but, and so for anybody watching this, here's what's going to happen. The next time that I do this thing, what you're going to do is you're going to try to do the opposite.
Right.
And you're going to not want to like or whatever. But guess what? You're going to engage with the post just because you had to see, is this what he really does?
Right.
And that's how all this works. So imagine if we actually had a YouTube show. That's how crazy it gets, because imagine me and T on the couch and me
I'm
telling,
already knowing.
you know, I actually I've been writing notes. I got
I
stories,
can't wait for y'all to get popped.
bro. It's crazy. Like, I talked to one of my teammates, Anthony Darden, and this dude, like, I can't wait to get him on a podcast or whatever, because he hates the fact that he realized that I was a pro. He tells me this all the time. Like, you, the first person I met that I just knew was a pro, and you didn't even care about basketball. This dude watched 2 LA Clipper dancers come after one of my games to his dorm room looking for me, and it was like, it was like, you know that man married, right? And they were like, yeah, but we was just hoping you can find out where he at. This same guy was with me when I introduced him to Penelope Cruz. This guy met Quentin Tarantino. This guy met Vince Carter, Ben Wild, all these people that I dealt with in LA. Like, this was my life in LA. And people were like, I see why you didn't care about basketball. I
So on that, and I know we talked about. Actually, I don't know if we really deep dive into it, but this made me think of that while you were talking about it. So everybody knows we're coming out with 2 shows. I'm working on the schedule. Actually, I'm going to input my AI prompt right now. So for the people at home, that's like, you don't care about basketball because you could do a podcast, and we very rarely talk about basketball.
yeah.
Talk about that, man. Like why people, because some people are stuck in basketball and they can't get out of that. Like that is their lane, which is nothing wrong with it. But the way the world is going, like I guess if that's your niche, that's your niche. I guess I don't know.
It's
But for you, talk to them about that transition.
it really wasn't even a transition. Basketball was just basketball to me. Like, God gave me a gift. I never seen it for anything other than he gave me a gift, and it was up to me to take that gift and parlay other opportunities. That's all basketball was to me. Like, whether it was to get a let me think how to say that. Whether it was to get an opportunity to have a social encounter with a female,
Right.
or if it was to get an opportunity to network into a financial position, whether it's just to get a meal, somebody dropped me off, somebody. It was a tool. That's all it was. But I was very gifted with that thing. People looked at the gift that was given to me. Usually, when somebody give you a gift, nobody gives you some cologne because you stink. Like, they'll gift you cologne because they know that the cologne will smell good on you and you like it. And because you like it, you have an air of confidence when you wear it.
On the call with Lemi, we're recording the podcast.
Hey, sis.
Lemi said, "What's up?" She said, "Hey,"
No, I know that. Hey,
but
I know that. Hey, boy, I
yeah, they
know
just
that one.
walked in. All right, hey, let's wrap up, man. They just
Yeah,
walked to the door.
I know that.
Uh, Oh, okay. So I'm gonna send you the podcast schedule. The cool part about the Riverside app is allowed me to be a producer in the background, so I don't have to be on camera. So whenever I do produce you and T's shows, I don't have to be on camera.
Whatever. I don't care.
So,
We all gonna eat.
so this is what AI is beautiful. This is cool. So for everybody that doesn't understand it, So I plunged it in and I said, okay, give me the podcast schedule. So, I have my show, The Rise Above Potential. That's motivation and growth. The Come Up with Justin and Lemi is entrepreneurial success story. You're going to love this one. Real talk with Lemi, unfiltered discussion. And then tea time with.
Yeah, that's gonna go crazy. So you just created a what is called a gosh, what is it? I'm gonna get back to you. You've created a not a culture, you created a don't make me go to AI for this. What you've created is this not a platform. Come on, help me out. You've created a
Network. I mean, that's the only way.
no.
Network.
So the way you have this set up, you're covering everything. Ecosystem. You created ecosystem
Yeah.
is what you created with the way you set those things up. Because you could have got loose and you've covered every aspect of what happens in the 16 hours humans are awake.
Right.
And not many people are aware of that. So what content creators, they'll go one lane, right? And it'll just be T. Just T, T, T. I get tired of hearing T. Entertainment.
Right.
When I'm on Twitter, my Twitter is full of finance, entertainment, mental health, sports, and sports betting. So you created an ecosystem that covers every aspect of what people go through on a daily basis. Only thing missing is like motherhood, fatherhood, and that can get covered in Real Talk and with Tea Time with T. So you got the talent, but yeah, I know that. I know that sound.
Yeah. So, all right, y'all. It's been a good chat. I hope you enjoyed our discussion, our just having some bro time. I think anybody at home, I think it's bigger than a podcast at this point. It's just having conversations. As ChatGPT is so eloquently put, entrepreneurial success stories, and deeper than that, talk about culture and life and how all these things blend together. And I'm excited about what we can do with the Fordex ecosystem of media. I can't wait to get T going and then get the real talk with Lemmy and Justin, because this is the era to be in, right? Instead of sitting back and consuming other people's content, we're going to be producing content. And, with the
Yep.
advancement of AI and how much these mega corporations are going to pay out to smaller platforms. And if they don't, we can create our own, because Kai
They
Nan, Drew
will.
Speed.
They have no other choice because they are losing millions, 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 millions daily. They have no other choice. The revolution will be televised. Like Kendrick Lamar said, you got the right time, you just got the wrong person.
Right. We can leave it on that. I think on the next topic, on the next episode, I'd say the next time we record, let's kickstart Real Talk with Lemi and let you be unfiltered with that discussion and really deep diving into those conversations. But for me, as we talk about, I posted something on Facebook the other day, like I can't be the talent anymore. I have to be the Barry Gordy.
Yep, you got to be the Barry Gordy, bro. Told you that.
But yeah, and you told me that. For people who don't know who Barry Gordy is, go Google him and figure out who he is. So, all right, man, what you got for the people? What should they expect from the world of technology this coming up?
This week you're gonna see some. You're gonna see Meta adopt heavy into AI, but you're also going to see a new competitor to DeepSeek. You're going to see a lot of finance companies really adopt AI. Watch, and I promise you, you're going to see a lot of financial companies start adopting AI for their bookkeeping, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's going to happen this week.
Yeah, I just downloaded a bookkeeping app for AI. But all right, guys, it's been the Come Up with Justin and Lemi. Until next time, this is actually going to drop. So wherever you're watching it, once I get done doing what I got to do, some housekeeping at home, this will be dropped Monday afternoon to get you going and get you kickstarted on your week. So peace out. It's been Justin Lemi. Like and subscribe. This will be, I'm going to post this on the Fordex Media, and I'm going to get that going. Then I'll post episode 1. So, all right, man, good chat, man. We'll get it rocking and roll.
All right, bro. Like,
Peace out. Good night.